Let's see if I can change this light bulb from an ordinary boring white LED light bulb to a much fancier, cooler red LED light bulb. That's because, the reason that I'm doing this is because I have just received a package from AliExpress containing many things, but one of them was this large piece of tape containing a bunch of these small red SMD LEDs. Well, actually, they're not all that small, but I want to see if I can replace the white LEDs in this light bulb with some red ones. Let's see if I can take this thing apart. Oh yeah, come on, Papa. Oh yeah. Alright, there you go. So now, well, yeah, here's the plastic globe, and of course all the LEDs. Now what I'm gonna have to do is check to see how many LED chips are in each one of these. And in fact, I think I can actually see right there. Let me go ahead and get a magnifying loupe so that you can see how many chips are in each one of these LEDs. Unfortunately, it's not very easy to see, and my camera is a little bit shaky, so it's not going to be the best, but I think you can pretty clearly see that there are two distinct sections of a lighter yellow and the sea of darker yellow in that LED chip. And let's go ahead and move to the different one. You can also see those two distinct sections if I focus correctly. And yeah. So I'm going to have to compensate for this when I determine how many LEDs I'm going to include in my lamp. Well, as it turns out, I didn't need to go looking at the LEDs with a little magnifying glass to see how many chips they had. All I need to do is just to put the little base into the light fixture, turn it on, and measure the voltage across each of these LEDs while in operation. This is quite dangerous because there is exposed mains in those contacts over there, but as long as you don't touch it, you'll be fine. And also I'm wearing sunglasses just because this thing is extremely bright. So let's go ahead and plug this in, and you can see, well, you can't actually see because all the light from them blends together, but let's go ahead and measure some of the voltages while in operation off camera. So I just measured the voltages and stuff, and it looks like each of the LEDs has 2 chips inside of it, so that means a 6-volt voltage drop per LED, and there are 10 LEDs, so the voltage coming from the buck converter is a full 60 volts. So we're going to have to design around that when we are making our LED board. So based on my observations, this is my approximate schematic of the device. So we have our 60-volt buck converter, which of course steps down the mains to a more manageable voltage. And then here is our LED chip with 2 individual LEDs inside of it. And then this is repeated 9 more times for a total of 10. And of course it goes back. And so what we're going to have to do is replace the single white LED chip with 3 red LED chips, all in series, and each one of these red LED chips drops about 2 volts in operation, as opposed to this entire thing which drops about 6 volts in operation. So this little setup right here will be perfect. Let's continue to disassemble this little LED light. So it looks like the output of the buck converter is fed into this little connector here, and all I need to do is just remove these 2 screws to remove the main board. And now this thing can come out. Or not. I think the reason that it doesn't come out is because it's there's this little aluminum shell over here, and this LED board is thermally bonded to the aluminum to dissipate its heat. So that is going to be an issue to get this thing off. So let's go ahead and pry it off if I can. And, well, never mind that. It seems to have worked. So here we have our LED board with its little connector over here, and we have the output pins of our buck converter. So now all I'm going to have to do is desolder this little connector over here so that I can use it with a different board. However, you might be noticing that this board right here is quite small. And if I'm going to have to replace each one of these white LEDs with 3 red LEDs, there's going to be a space issue over here. And what I plan on doing is making well, I guess, a stack of smaller boards of about this size. And of course, I'm going to have my little connector in there, and then it's going to be a stack of a bunch of little boards, which will go into the globe. And the power dissipation of each one of these is probably going to be negligible. And in fact, I might just add a couple resistors in series so that I don't have to add as many LEDs. And also the bulb will be a little bit dimmer since I want this light to be a bit dimmer than the original white LED. And by the way, this was a 8.5 watt lamp. Let's see if I can desolder that little connector. I think I'd say that worked. You might have noticed that I have lifted some traces while desoldering this little connector, but I don't really care. I mean, all I care for is the connector. I don't care to save the board. I'm not going to repurpose the board, and the connector still fits just fine over those little pins. So let's see if I can put together a simple prototype board for my little LEDs. Oh, man. Yeah, that just might work. Nice. Fits. Now I'm probably going to have to trim down these corners a little bit. Looks good. Now, of course, it still fits, and this globe might actually fit over it now. Well, maybe not quite. I still probably would need a little bit of sanding or maybe just some residual cutting if I can even do this sort of thing. But yeah, it's definitely getting to a bit more of a circular shape, and it will fit pretty easily into that little globe. Yep, it definitely fits. This one right here, I just want to try as a prototype board and put just a couple LEDs on it. Not even the full. Only a couple LEDs on it, and maybe some resistors, and yeah, so that I can just test out to make sure that this thing has a possibility of working with these little red LEDs. So, I have finished up soldering all of the LEDs and resistors. There are 8 LEDs over here, and a total of 2.4 kiloohms of resistance, which is hopefully enough. So, let's go ahead and plug this thing in, and put the cover on there. And let's go ahead and turn this thing on together. So let's turn off that light, unscrew my current light bulb, screw in this red light bulb, and turn it on. Nothing. So I think I found the issue. There was just some connection that I had forgot to solder. So hopefully this will be the charm. Da-da-da-da. Three, two, one. Oh, would you look at that? We got some red light action going on around over here. That is very nice. I like it. So I think this will conclude part 1 for the red LED quest, and yeah, I think this is pretty nice. I mean, the white balance on the camera is trying to adjust to this. In reality, it looks a lot more red and less pinkish, but yeah, I would say that is a success. Here is my red LED lighting up a single empty bathroom. It is quite a dim LED. It's not producing really all that much light, but it's enough to see by at night or something. And yeah, it looks a bit brighter in camera because it's trying to compensate for the exposure, but it is in reality quite dim. Houston, we have a problem. Do you see anything wrong in this picture? Well, if you don't, then you will see that these two resistors right here have blackened because of the heat. Yeah, so when I was letting this thing run for a bit, I was wondering why the globe was getting so hot, so I decided to pop it open, and lo and behold, there was smoke coming out of the globe, and this resistor right here, and maybe this one too, were actually burning. Well, they weren't on fire, but they were smoking tremendously. And that definitely wasn't good. My nose still stinks of burnt resistors. So yeah, let's just say that this will definitely not be the final version, and the final version will not include any of these resistors that will have to drop significant amounts of voltage and end up getting smoky in the process. So I think that would conclude part 1 of this little series about making a red light bulb.